Welcome to episode 3 of LXBN this week. I am Colin O'Keefe, and that's Jared Sulsdorf. We are a couple of your editors on LXBN. We've had some time away, but we're back now to discuss the most talked about and most interesting stories we've seen on the Lex Blog Network over the past week. Today's topics are the many different angles surrounding the Facebook IPO, which we've seen a number of posts on, the big Oracle v. Google battle over Android, POM Wonderful v. Coca-Cola, the latest installment in what's become known as the Juice Wars, and of course the big Roger Clemens trial, which is taking place this week. Let's start off with the Facebook IPO. After much fanfare, Facebook's IPO has been marred by technical difficulties on the first day of trading, potential serious securities fraud lawsuits, and a share price that keeps on falling. The social media giant's IPO was the first of its kind and one of the largest IPOs in the history of the tech industry. But with all the controversy swirling around, it makes sense that Facebook may be looking to change their fortunes by heading over to the New York Stock Exchange as opposed to where they are now. We saw this story covered from so many different angles, from the IPO to the security suits and then to the estate planning and even Zuck's marriage. Jared, what are you seeing? Who do you think covered this well?
Well, like you said, there's just been a ridiculous amount of coverage on the network regarding the Facebook IPO, and rightfully so. It's a huge story. Even up to the last batch of posts I curated for LXBN last week, we were seeing good articles trickle in, including a piece from Tax, Trust, and Estate News, which has just been all over the Facebook IPO. But as far as individual bloggers are concerned, Stephen Burke put together a great post on the impact that Facebook's less than stellar opening has had on smaller investors over on his blog, The Corporate Observer. And Kevin LaCroix chimed in with one of his patented 1,200-word posts on the class action securities suit that has arisen as a result of the information that was potentially purposefully withheld from the public to inflate market confidence in the IPO. Kevin just constantly churns out great content and amazingly in-depth articles on his blog, The DNO Diary. And this really isn't any different. And finally, we had a post from Daniel Clement. You mentioned Zuck's marriage. Daniel blogs on the New York Divorce Report, and he had a post on Mark Zuckerberg's marriage to Priscilla Chin shortly after the IPO. Obviously, it would have been noteworthy at any time that Mark Zuckerberg got married, but given the timing of things, this was especially pertinent.
Yeah, it was interesting to see if that was more tax stuff, celebration, who knows really what's going on there. And then, Facebook, of course, dominating the news with the IPO, the security suits, and all the things coming about of that, we also had the second round of Oracle v. Google come to a close, with Google seeing a major victory over Oracle as a federal jury in San Francisco ruled that neither of the two patents at issue regarding Java, which was infringed upon in Google's development and implementation of its mobile Android software. The result has some people calling the case a, quote, near disaster for Oracle. Jared, though this verdict just came in, towards the tail end of the week, what reaction have you seen from LXBN authors?
Well, I think that the best post, and probably more aptly described as a series of posts, comes from John Whitaker, who's the founder of Seattle-based Whitaker Law Group, on the Copyright Infringement Advisor. John's just been following Oracle v. Google almost since its inception and has accumulated quite the library of posts on the intellectual property dispute over on his blog. In his latest post, which it came in just as the verdict came down, John discussed the dwindling case against Google, the obstacles the jury faced in determining the fair use aspect of Google's copyright infringement, and whether or not software patents have simply run their course as a way to protect intellectual property. They've been the bread and butter of these cases for so long, and John appears to think that they may kind of be going by the wayside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch going forward. I know, in this Google case, I think they came out ahead on the copyright but on the patent, so it was interesting to see. I don't think Oracle, if they do end up having some claim to things, they were trying to get billions and billions of dollars from Google, and now they may only end up getting something like $150,000. So the description of it as a near disaster, I certainly think seems pretty accurate. And then moving on, we have POM Wonderful v. Coca-Cola. The latest installment, again, in what's been called the Juice Wars, was decided just last week as pomegranate juice maker POM lost their lawsuit against Coca-Cola after alleging that Coke's Minute Maid juice contained less pomegranate juice than advertised. The juice had the name pomegranate in it, but pomegranate wasn't the most used juice in the blend. POM, whose marketing campaigns are centered around the health benefits of pomegranate juice, has sued several other juice maker providers and lost each case as well in what seems to be a poorly advised crusade against these other people.
Yeah.
Jared, who do you think covered this well? I know there was a couple different posts on this.
Yeah, I actually think that the best post came from August Horvath, who blogs over on Ad Law Access, which is actually a Kelly Dry and Warren publication and is probably my favorite publication for cases of these sorts or issues of these sorts. It's consistently good content on high-profile advertising disputes and industry trends. Um, the interesting bit about August Post is actually that the health benefits of pomegranate juice that are driving the suits by POM are actually themselves being called into question. And Ms. Horvath also notes that POM lost actually brought three other cases against Tropicana, Welch Foods, and Ocean Spray Cranberries. And those cases were decided on different grounds, but it's kind of interesting to see the play that POM is making for these juices and for pomegranate in general. And like you said, it's kind of a weird situation.
Yeah, because I think even you mentioned this is that their own advertising tactics are being called into question just because they're shining the light on other people, and it's so often that yeah, you're just gonna get in trouble if you. It's like what happens when kids are fighting. You try to point somebody else, and your parents get mad because both people are fighting.
Yeah.
And then moving on to our last major topic, we have the United States v. Roger Clemens. Roger Clemens, of course, being the famous Red Sox, Blue Jays, and of course Yankees pitcher. This is the redo for the perjury case against Roger Clemens. This one, of course, has outlasted the first go around. Although given the first trial last year, the first trial only lasted a few days. That's not hard to do. That, of course, was the result of the prosecution showing the jury evidence the judge had previously forbidden. As all lawyers know, you probably shouldn't do that. In the United States v. Roger Clemens, it's all the aspects of a trial that everyone wants to know about. We have things like bloody beer cans, photos of steroid injections, and pool parties with celebrities. There's just so much going on. I see it on Twitter from some of the sports writers that I follow. It's just a crazy case. Jared, I already know. I think I have some idea who you're thinking about, but let us know who covered this story the best.
Yeah, I mean, we see a lot of posts come through, so we kind of know what the coverage is going on, and it's not very often that one man drives the discussion on the Lex Blog network of a topic, but Lee Davis is doing just that with United States v. Roger Clemens. I think 9 out of the last 10 posts have come from Mr. Davis, and he's just covering everything from the DNA on the beer can to the pictures of Roger Clemens at a pool party. Lee blogs over at Athletes in Court, and if you're interested in this case, it's pretty much a one-stop shop for all things involving the perjury case against Roger Clemens, and he's a great blogger, and I would definitely check that out.
Yeah, Lee Davis has done an exceptional job. This case is still ongoing, so be sure to follow along at his publication as it moves forward. Kind of a quick one, but that's all that we have for LXBN this week. If you're interested in checking out all the coverage on these stories from LXBN authors, be sure to head over to lxbn.lexblog.com. Just run a search for the topic that you're looking for, one of these, and then we also have each one of these tagged as well. So click on the associated tag, whether it be Facebook, United States v. Roger Clemens. You'll be able to find all of the posts associated with that, as we've been cataloging all of those very well. Well, once again, I'm Colin O'Keefe, and that's Jared Sulsdorf. We will see you next time on LXBN This Week.